First of all, Mr. Ventura, I'm a big fan, but I'm an even bigger fan now that I know that you're pro fanny pack. This is huge for me. I've been trying to bring back the fanny pack for years. I've been nothing but ridicule, and shame sent my way.
I find that strange because I'm a huge fan. I have one locked in my hotel right now in the safe. You know, they give you them little safes in the room.
Yeah.
Well, I carry my passport in it. I carry the things that I need to travel if I'm doing airline travel, my schedules. I carry 2 sets of reading glasses.
Yeah.
I carry my sunglasses.
Yeah.
What could be better than a fanny pack to carry all that?
You
I don't have
that sucker, drop it in the tray.
I don't have I tend to wear my pants a little tight, and I can't put things in the pocket. Things break when they get in the pocket. No, I'm a huge fanny pack advocate. I've worn them now for like 20 years. I've had them.
Me too. And now you have one of ours.
Yep.
And,
happy to take it. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm
honored. It's a superior way to carry your stuff.
And I'll put it to use.
Thank you.
Well, and I've stated this. In Minnesota, I have legit conceal and carry, where I can carry a weapon.
Right.
Where do you think I carry it?
In your fanny pack.
Exactly.
That's right. Well, they make fanny packs specifically that Velcro open instantaneously. They pop right open.
Yep. Well, if I'm not wearing my shoulder holster, it's in my fanny pack.
Do you? I mean, how does that work? You're only allowed to conceal carry in Minnesota, and if you go state to state?
No. Many of the states now are honoring the others.
I see.
You got to check though. But generally speaking, if you have pretty much across the country now, for most part, if you have a legitimate conceal and carry in your home state, the other states will likewise honor it. But you can't go to the airport with it.
Right. Of course,
you can't do anything like that with it. You'd have to be driving.
That's one of those subjects where, much like the subject of your book, the Marijuana Manifesto, it's one of those subjects where as soon as you bring up that subject, concealed carry, people just go, oh.
Well, it's interesting because I helped shepherd the law through when I was governor in Minnesota because I was mayor of Brooklyn Park first, and I went to my police chief to get conceal and carry, and he denied me. I was the mayor.
How could he deny you?
Because it was up to police chiefs.
But why?
And
what was his grounds?
He don't like it.
Oh, he just didn't like it in general.
He didn't like it. And so I sat back and thought, wait a minute, this is ridiculous. A police chief shouldn't have that power. It should be uniformly shall issue. If you're qualified, it shouldn't be left up to, because like in Minnesota, if you lived in northern Minnesota, the rural north, you could get it conceal and carry like nothing because the police chiefs up there didn't care. But if you lived down in the cities, you couldn't get conceal and carry if you bribed them.
That's interesting because it's a state law. That's bizarre.
No, it wasn't.
It wasn't at the time.
It was, but it was left up to the police chiefs.
So if you went up north.
I went and changed that and made it universal across the state, shall issue, but we required you had to go through an accredited gun training course. You had to go to the range and shoot a minimum of 70. You had to have a complete background check done on you, criminal background, everything. And in the case of like you have .08 with alcohol with driving, I made conceal and carry .00.
Well, those are all good.
And if you're carrying your weapon, you are not under the influence of any alcohol, none.
Those are all excellent ideas.
And that's where we passed it. Now, if you qualify for all that, it shall issue.
So where do you stand with the NRA has been, they push back, and I understand why. They push back against any gun regulation, anything that comes up, any regulation in regards to background checks, regards to anything, because they feel like ground lost is lost forever. You'll never gain it back. And it is.
And it is. Where I feel is that let me put it to you this way, life experiences. I was physically in the Philippine Islands. I was physically in the Philippines the day Ferdinand Marcos became a dictator.
Ooh.
I was there. Now, I was in the U.S. military on a U.S. military base, so it didn't really affect us. I mean, we'd go into town and all that, but then you had a soldier on every corner with a machine gun when he did it. Well, here's what I'm getting to. He became a dictator and gave himself the power of the president, the Congress, and the Supreme Court. Complete dictatorship. The first thing he did as a dictator, he gave the people of the Philippines a 10 to 12-day grace period to turn in all guns, or it was the death penalty.
Whoa.
Now, my question to the people who oppose gun rights or are anti-guns, why would a dictator make his first thing of business to disarm the public? Why would he make that his #1 priority?
Well, it's pretty obvious. He doesn't want an armed militia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And people fail to realize our Second Amendment is there for us to be able to defend ourselves against our own government.
That's a touchy subject, though,
It's not there for hunting and fishing. When they wrote the Bill of Rights, if you didn't hunt and fish, you didn't eat. That was irrelevant. It was there because the British used to come and occupy our homes, steal our stuff. So the British caused the Second Amendment to happen, to where our forefathers says, no, we're going to allow the people to be able to defend themselves against oppressive government.
So do you think that the opposition to it is just a lack of foresight, like the idea that you're living in this time where, for the most part, things are very peaceful? It's probably the most safe time ever to be alive, and that people have forgotten that it's entirely possible that tyranny could erupt at any moment?
Maybe so. And they don't realize that maybe we, you got two movements that happened this year. You had the Bernie Sanders movement and the Donald Trump movement originally. They wanted the same thing. They could never get together, though, because one's the far, far left, the other's the far, far right.
Right.
But that what they wanted was a turnover in Washington. They were sick of business as usual. Let's run these bums out and let's start fresh. That's what their two movements were about.
And the more we're seeing day to day, I mean, I think Hillary Clinton is obviously a more rational choice than Donald Trump. She's obviously a person who speaks better, a better representative of the people. She's intelligent. She's measured.
And she flip-flops constantly.
Constantly. But she's obviously deeply, deeply in bed with the banks and with special interest groups. And this most recent WikiLeaks release of emails, it shows that she's been with talking with bankers, making sure that marijuana stays illegal. I mean, this is something that she has vowed to push back against with all of her might, and that's a disturbing thing to see in 2016. Because in my, there's more people locked up. I don't know if people know this, but there's more people locked up for marijuana in this country than for all violent crimes combined.
Yeah,
and that is terrifying.
It's horrible.
It's terrifying.
It's horrible, too, when you get to, like when I did this book and went into the history, what terrifies you there is that our history books are government written with the government's view of history of what they want you to know. Because what astounded me in doing this book was to learn that marijuana was the economic backbone of this country for its first 160 years of existence. That if George Washington and Thomas Jefferson were alive today, they'd be raided by the DEA. They'd be doing 10 to 12 years in the federal penitentiary for being major drug dealers, because they both raised massive amounts of marijuana and sold it. And there was a time that England, when we were the colonies, forced us to grow it because they needed it for their sails on their ships and the rope, and so that they could colonize the world with their navy. And they forced us to grow it. And here you have a product, and now all the reason that I personally have gotten on the bandwagon, and I've made this a personal focus, is because I had completely lost my quality of life, and marijuana's given it back.
How so?
Well, I won't say because of privacy, but someone extremely close to me developed epileptic seizure disorder and was seizing 3 to 4 times a week. And I was taking care of these seizures 3 to 4 times a week. If you've ever dealt with someone with a seizure disorder, it's a feeling of helplessness. It's a feeling of pain. You can't even imagine what that person's going through. This is the person taking care of them. And if it's someone you love, the pain is unbelievable. And so The person was put on 4 different, one after the other, pharmaceutical medicines for seizures, right? None of them worked. They all had horrible side effects. The seizures continued for over 2 years. Finally, in desperation, we went to Colorado. The person got, quote, medical marijuana, 3 drops under the tongue 3 times a day. Amazingly, the seizures stopped.
Yeah, I have a good friend whose son has the same issue.
Amazingly now, the person's completely weaned off all pharmaceutical, and it's now in pill form. The person takes a pill in the morning, a pill at night, and has been seizure-free for 2.5 years.
Now, are they taking a pharmaceutical-based pill, like a Marinol, or are they taking
they're taking
real
THC? Well, it's the other stuff, the the other, not the THC, but the
CBD?
other 3, CBD.
Yeah.
The person needs the CBD. In fact, this person takes 0 THC, all CBD.
So they're not it's not psychoactive whatsoever,
at all,
which is really important to point out. Yeah.
None. Even if it were, who cares?
Exactly.
You know, like my friend Tommy Chong told me. Tommy Chong said there should be no difference between medical marijuana and recreational. He said the entire plant's medical. Those that are smoking it for the euphoric feeling are doing it for mental health.
Oh, absolutely. 100%.
So how do you get through this life? If you can smoke a joint in the evening and it makes you relax, what's the matter with that? What's the difference between that or having a glass of wine or having anything else?
Well, we're just victims to the propaganda of the 1930s.
Yep.
And whether people know it or not, it was all organized by William Randolph Hearst.
And race baiting.
Yeah,
race-based.
And William Randolph Hearst, who owned Hearst Publications, also owned a bunch of paper mills. He owned these
thousands of acres of timberland.
Yep. And they came out with a machine called a decorticator, whether people know this or not. And the decorticator made it economically easy to process hemp fiber. So they came out with this in the 1930s, and the Popular Science magazine at the time had a cover that said "Hemp, the new billion-dollar crop," based entirely on this new invention, the decorticator. Because before that, they used to use slavery. Then when the cotton gin came around, they used cotton instead of hemp because it was easier to do.
You know, you're enjoyable because I don't have to say all this.
Well, it's one of those things that I've just been telling people forever. It drives me fucking crazy.
You've done your homework. It's wonderful. Because usually I go on a show, I have to do the explanation of all that. But with you, I don't have to. You know it already.
Well, William Randolph Hearst was a real piece of shit.
Exactly.
He really was.
Yeah.
And he was in charge not just of these paper mills, but he was in charge of disseminating the news. I mean, this guy ran Hearst Publications.
Yeah, 26 newspapers in an all-white run country.
And
so they used marijuana to race bait, to blame the devil weed that blacks smoked, and then they'll rape your daughters and your children and your wives and all that.